What if I say that this garbage bag was responsible for 43% share in the energy drink market all over the world? Yes, due to this garbage bag, one company was able to gain that market share. I'm not joking. In the year 1994, this company was trying to capture a already saturated market in London. Now, they were trying all the strategies but were not being able to be successful. What did they do next? The next thing they did was put some empty cans into the garbage bin outside some of the busiest club in London. Now people started perceiving that this drink is being consumed a lot. What did it lead to? Creating a artificial demand. And by the year 2000, they were able to sell 200 million cans. And this is how I learned about perception building. Some of you might have thought that this is a marketing move, but this was a part of perception. You may think that this is applicable only to company, but it is also applicable to human being. Like, see this man. This man is actually sitting in a police van. That means he might be a criminal, right? That's the first thought we get. See this another man who's lying in a hospital, almost half dead, or maybe dead. You never know. And I'll show you another man who is there on some stage or some great university. Now, he might be a professor or a thought leader. This is what we think, three different men. But what if I tell you these are all one? And that's me. So, don't worry. I'm not a criminal. I was sitting in that police van because in the year 2021, I was suffering mental illness, due to which I tried to end my life and police rescued me. And then I'm lying in the hospital bed because in an accident I lost my ring finger. So these were some incidents that happened, but the perception you developed was completely different. Myself, Yogesh Agarwal, an entrepreneur, a coach, and a trainer. But मैं ये सब आपको क्यों बता रहा हूं? Because this was nothing but the perception paradox. क्या होता है perception paradox? It is when two or more people think about the same situation in different ways. That's what I call the perception paradox. जैसे कि जब मुझे TEDx से इनवाइट आया, I went to my mom and said, मम्मी मेरे को TEDx से इनवाइट आया है. And at that time my mom was like, nice, good. I was not expecting this kind of emotion from her at least. What happened next? मैंने उनको उसके आगे की कहानी बताई कि मम्मी TEDx से जो इनवाइट आया है इट हैज कम फ्रॉम उज्जैन एंड शी वाज लाइक महाकाल की सिटी से इनवाइट आया है एंड शी वाज वेरी हैप्पी कि यार बुलावा आया है जरूर जाना एंड फॉर अ मोमेंट आई वाज लाइक मैं तो TEDx देने जा रहा हूं उसके लिए खुश हूं और ये किसी और चीज के लिए खुश है. That's when I realized in the same situation, two people think differently and create different story. And उस दिन मुझे realize हो गया that I have chosen the right topic for TEDx. So, going next, I'll tell you something. होता क्या है कि जब हम धीरे धीरे बड़े होते हैं तो हमें एक बात रियलाइज होती है कि बचपन में हमारे आंखों में कोई फिल्टर नहीं होता. But as we start growing up, we start having some filter. What is this filter? Because जब मैंने इस बात पर रिसर्च करना चालू किया कि मेरी मम्मी ने डिफरेंटली क्यों सोचा और मैंने क्यों, तो मुझे रियलाइज हुआ that this was because of a perception being formed. So how are these perception formed? This is formed because of four filters, in which I call L as the learned pattern. लर्न पैटर्न यानी कि जब हम अपने पास्ट इवेंट्स के बेस पे एक कनेक्शन ब्रेन में बनाते हैं कि ये इंसिडेंट इसलिए हुआ होगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर वी टॉक अबाउट दिस लेडी J.K. Rowling, so what happened there is during the time when she was about to publish her book, at that point of time, almost 12 rejection is what she faced when she was trying to publish the book. So, why was she rejected? Because the publishers assumed that this book will not behave well for the children. But I'll tell you, she is the writer of Harry Potter, one of the best selling book. And not only the book became a bestseller, it also made sure that it is ruling the market. So it was due to the learned perception that these people were having, due to which the book was not being able to published by them. बचपन में जब हम छोटे थे तो मम्मी पापा एक बात कहा करते थे कि बेटा इंजीनियर बन जाओ या डॉक्टर बन जाओ, लाइफ सॉर्ट हो जाएगी. जब मैं बड़ा हुआ तो मुझे रियलाइज हुआ कि एक पुचका वाला आज के वक्त में ज्यादा कमा रहा है. एंड दैट्स व्हेन माय लर्न पैटर्न वाज डीपली अफेक्टेड. द सेकंड लेंस दैट आई सॉ वाज एनवायरनमेंट. यानी कि the decision making and the perception is defined by the context we are around. For example, in 2007, there were keyboard based phones. So at that time, Steve Jobs tried for what? He tried for a full touchscreen smartphone. The then CEO of Microsoft said that people are willing to actually use the keyboard based smartphone and not the online one. And that's when this guy was so creative. He said, no, it will work. And now we know we all use iPhones. This is just like I always go and say my dad, I need upgraded phone. And he's like, यार सुनो हमारे जमाने में एक लैंडलाइन से ही काम चल जाता था पूरे मोहल्ले का. So that was other environment and this is totally other environment. Then I found out in this particular lens, the third element that is N, which stands for narrative. यानी कि वो स्टोरीज जो हम अपने आगे बना के रखते हैं और उसके बेसिस पे डिसीजन लेते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू सी दिस लेडी, वी ऑल नो हर एज ओपरा विनफ्री. शी इज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट कम्युनिकेटर इन द वर्ल्ड. बट लेट मी टेल यू that this particular lady that you see on the screen was actually declared unfit for TV. Yes, I'm not lying. And today, she is the best communicator. Why? Because the narrative changed. And due to past narrative, she was declared so. It is just like when I was small, in my report card, the teacher wrote, talks too much, and called my parents. And today, I say, I get paid to talk. The narrative changed, right? Cool. Then I discovered another element, which is selective focus. One of the very favorite that I have in terms of the lens when I talk about selective focus, because I am a cricket fanatic. I will take you back to the 2003 World Cup. At that point of time, what was happening is that we were losing to Australia. But instead of focusing on this particular element of losing the game, some people focused on Sachin Tendulkar's highest run score. He actually made the highest run in the whole of World Cup. And today we know him as Master Blaster, as the only cricketer who has had 100 international centuries. This is how the total perception is made through the lens that we have and the filter we have in the lens. You might be thinking that you don't have these filters, right? I'll prove that you also have the same filters. So take out a moment right now and do one thing. Close your eyes for 5 seconds. And now imagine a successful entrepreneur. Try to create the picture in your mind, and now you can open your eyes. Now, see this screen. Give me a show of hands if the entrepreneur you thought of is on the screen. I see some show of hands because you imagined them. I'll show you another slide. Give me a show of hands if you saw them while you were thinking of entrepreneurs. Again, I have some show of hands from the back. And I'll show you another slide yet again. Give me a show of hands if any of you thought of them. What? No show of hands? How is this possible? Let me show you something shocking. These are the founders of some of the famous companies, but you didn't even think of them when I told you to imagine, but in 5 seconds you were able to imagine the other ones. You know why? Because of your perception, the lens I talked about. If you check it out, basically we always think famous is equal to successful, but that's not the case. Famous is not equal to successful, it's basically our perception. So the question is, can we remove this filter from the lens of the human? The answer is no, we can't. But what can we do is actually change the view from which people look from this lens. I'll show you how. So I came up with another framework called view, which I call the perception transformation. Well, view, where V stands for value visibility. So I call it that you have to strategically highlight your strength. For example, Sudha Murthy ma'am, one of my favorite philanthropists. She always used to donate a lot and she founded the Infosys Foundation as well. But somehow the donations were not coming really well because she did not document the journey. Once she started doing the press release, we saw 38% increase in donation. That's because she chose what? She chose to value visibility. Then the next I is impression management. One of my role model, Ratan Tata sir, has taught me that how you can consistently shape how other people perceive you as the simple guy, very patriotic, philanthropic. And he's the one because of whom his company is perceived to be the same. That is what we call impression management. Now, I digged deeper and I found out that another thing is very important. We are all not perfect, but we want to set the right perception. That's when I came up with expectation setting. So, expectation setting is share what other can expect from you, not more, not less. For example, is an airline which has 55% of the market, but it promises always one thing, that we'll be on time and not anything else. It has shared the right expectation. It does not say that we'll provide some other amenities. That is the beauty of sharing the right expectation with the consumers, right? And then comes my favorite, which is worthwhile impact. You might always make sure that you talk about action, but if you don't take any action, then nothing will work for you. That's why I have my somebody who has been the greatest example is Dr. Devi Shetty, who actually operated my grandfather. When I met him, I realized how he has changed the landscape of the medical grounds. He has made sure that cardiac surgery, which was so costly, he made sure that the charges of that has been taken down because of his action that he took. But why am I showing you lens and view? Because with this kind of view from the lens, you will be able to do one thing, and that is rise. So I'll give you this one tool before I leave the stage to make sure that people perceive you the best. And that is R, which says, remember that perception matters as much as reality. You remember Sudha Murthy ma'am? She not only donated, she made sure that people see that as well so that more people can donate. When I talk about I talk about invest time in understanding how others see you. Remember how Ratan Tata sir has always made sure he's so simple, so patriotic and philanthropic that everybody sees that impression. When I talk about S, I talk about the authenticity of the strength that you have. The airline has never promised something else. It has always highlighted the strength it has. And when I talk about E, I talk about the trust that you bring through your actions, just like Dr. Devi Shetty did. Now, From my story, I learned something. And that something was from that police van to the hospital to this stage, I realized one thing, that perception can be architect. हम नजरिया बना सकते हैं और मैंने वो नजरिया अभी अभी बनाया है. Because everything is nothing but just a perception. So I want to ask you one question. If you could control how people perceive you, who would you want to become? Think about it for sure. And before I leave the stage, I'll just tell you something. This all was just a perception. I'm holding this cue card. You saw me, I was looking at the cue card again and again. But I want to show you that the cue card was blank. This was all but just a perception that I am reading from here. Thank you so much, guys. This was my time. I'm Yogesh signing off. You have been a lovely audience.